Hi there, my name is Moray. Welcome to Moray's Muse, an anti-AI generated history channel. I'm a real woman talking about real history. We're talking about the biography of Varro today. This was a suggestion to us on one of our videos, because not many people watch our videos, but those who do and leave comments, we appreciate you. Today, we're talking about somebody who Petrarch called the third great light of Rome. It's Varro. Marcus Terentius Varro. Well, I'm gonna find out whether him and Cicero's wife were siblings or, I don't know. I can't remember. Varro was known as most valiant of the Romans. And Varro is born in 116 BCE. Petrarch described Varro as the third great light of Rome. He described Cicero and Virgil in that regard, and apparently Varro was the third great light. Not only was Varro excellent at Greek, but he had a great knowledge of the Roman Republic, and he preserved the institutional foundations and a lot of the stuff that we know now. Thing is, Varro was like a triple threat, not even a triple threat. What would they call like Zendaya if she was talented at like tap dancing too? Like, I mean, like, he covered everything. History, law, medicine, architecture, language. It's estimated actually he did author 620 books. He was the king of productivity. And it's really depressing because his staggering activity is a small reminder that most things get lost to history because only a small amount of it ends up being discovered and remaining, essentially. His most famous book is on agriculture, On Re Rustica. And another famous work, which I'm going to be studying this summer when I go to Latin school, De Lingua Latina, on the Latin language. And it survives only in 6 mutilated books. It's predicted he wrote encyclopedias. And on education, we only know about this because of writers like St. Augustine, and it's a huge intellectual loss because scholars need to reconstruct everything he's done. We need to get back to Varro's biography. He studies under L. Aelius Stilo, who is one of the first proper Latinists. Then Varro travels to Greece and studies under Antiochus of Ascalon, and he learns Greek too. And he understands the methodology in these two languages, you know, Greek versus Latin. Cicero is a big fan of Varro.
You're brilliant, you are. Completely 100% brilliant. I'm such a big fan.
Cicero makes Varro the spokesman for Antiochus's old academy, and in Academia, which Cicero wrote, he dedicates it to Varro. But Varro needs to get notoriety, so he needs to become a quaestor, he needs to become a tribune of the people, and a praetor. And Varro's military service is intertwined with the fate of Pompey the Great, and Varro loves Pompey the Great. Varro is a pro-quaestor to Pompey in Spain, and he commands a fleet during Pompey's successful against Mediterranean pirates in 67 BCE. So yeah, Varro adores Republican ideals, but when the first triumvirate begins, the whole thing with Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus, Varro is not happy because this made Varro lose his consulship. He actually created a work, The Three-Headed Monster, critiquing the coalition. And a lot of scholars ask whether it was all three men, Crassus, Pompey, and Julius Caesar, the three monsters was critiquing, and it turns out to many other scholars that it was just Caesar Varro was critiquing. So civil war breaks out and Varro finds himself in a bit of trouble. He's legate and commander of the troops for Pompey in Spain. He finds himself with Caesar, because Pompey and Caesar obviously crashed out, but Caesar's quite good. He grants Varro clemency in 47 BCE, and Caesar gives Varro the task of organizing Rome's first library of Greek and Latin works. Caesar wants to show that Rome has like intellectual pursuits. Caesar gets assassinated in 44 BCE, the Ides of March, and I wonder who puts Varro on the proscription list. It's none other than Mark Antony. Mark Antony has Varro's villa plundered and his vast private library ruined, and we can see that through Mark Antony putting Varro, who was very, very worthy and useful to Rome, on the proscription list. Like, Mark Antony was just like a thug who wanted violence. Like, this is why I hate Mark Antony. I think he's a bellend. Varro was writing these texts and they were a threat to Mark Antony. He had to destroy them. It's actually Varro who got protected by Augustus, so he didn't get proscribed. And Varro spent the rest of his life in retirement. Actually, till 27 BCE, he had a very long life. Here's the thing, let's talk about how the institutions kind of like put his pieces back together. Even though in the beginning of his career, Varro had a problem with Julius Caesar. It's the Antiquities of Human and Divine Things. And this is a 41 book long dedication to Julius Caesar, who quite frankly gave him another chance. Even though Varro wrote that the three-headed monster book. Cicero celebrated this project. This was a project aimed to impose like a written order on institutions. Otherwise, Rome would have just been an oral tradition, and that's how the Celts lost all their history, because we didn't write anything down, right? Or it was destroyed, but according to Caesar, we didn't write anything down. But Rome was the same. It only had oral tradition, so the likes of Varro and Cicero were really important because we learn a lot through things because of them. A lot of things. Varro also wrote 16 books covering divine affairs. He was excellent for scholarship. You know, he used a systematic framework of inquiry, and he created classifications for things. You know, he was one of the first proper like librarians. You know, he formed the basis of Rome's antiquitarianism. You could spend a lifetime reading his work. And Varro was the man who documented all of Rome's law year by year. You know, he was the first person that kept everything. I know there are writers like Plutarch, who's my personal favorite, but a lot of Plutarch's writing is like really salacious and stuff. But Varro was the writer who classified everything rather than created gossip or transformed hearsay into written work. You know, Varro was very thorough. And we can't have nice things because Mark Antony had him killed or tried to have him killed. So how much have we lost? The Romans were very, very fond of Hellenistic life, you know, Greek life. We know how the Romans borrowed from the Greeks or culturally appropriated from the Greeks because of Varro. Realistically, Varro was like the daddy of like scholarship, for the way he classified things and the methods he used in regards to study. Varro had written all these incredible great works, and he was not just a triple threat, he was a complete and utter threat. But because Mark Antony burnt down his villa and put him on the proscriptions list, I hope Fulvia wasn't involved with that. Fulvia was obviously involved with that. But that is why I like learning about Rome, because we learn how dictators do this shit. They take away the writers and the musicians first, right? So people cannot feel emotions and people cannot learn. You know, they take away the narrative. And Varro should be the most celebrated historian in Roman history, but instead we have guys like Plutarch, who I really enjoy reading because his work is a lot of gossip, but how much of it is true, right? So, you know, while Cicero is like talked about, and when I become relevant, I will champion Cicero because he does not have enough pop culture around him. Varro isn't relevant enough because whilst we have fragments of his work, we should have a lot more, right? And that's why bellends like Mark Antony have handsome actors, you know, who portray him kind of like James Purefoy and Richard Burton, and he's seen as like this huge stud who Cleopatra, you know, like through history and this, you know, but Mark Antony was like an evil person, and he took away the most important people of Rome, who were the narrators and the people who provided the truth. You know, I'm at the stage now where I thought by studying Rome, I would turn more right-wing, kind of like Boris Johnson. But I'm not. I realize how these dictators work and these tricks they use to stop genuine people succeeding. And Varro's loss of literature is a loss for the whole world. You know, Varro had kids, he had a wife, but we barely know anything about them because Varro didn't die. He was put in retirement, but realistically he did die because none of his scholarship, compared to the stuff he wrote, 620 books, is what survived. Was that a crash out? It was a valid crash out. I hope that this channel one day, when I look back in like 10 years, can be kind of like a record of me like sitting down and actually learning every single part of the Roman Republic and the Empire, rather than just this like Hollywood aesthetic that we have in media right now. If you like this video, then you should subscribe to our channel. We're a tiny channel, but we really appreciate any comments or views or anything like that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta.